2, 1, 2, 3,
right? I feel like we're all starting to really own our pitches now too. My name is Siesto, and I am a board-certified music therapist. Currently, I work primarily with children who are on the autism spectrum, and I am here today to do a demo session of music therapy, just to give a feel for some of the different interventions that you might see in a music therapy session.
Could you tell us some more about music therapy and the specific practice that you do as a music therapist?
So, music therapy is the adaptation of musical elements and music engagement as facilitated by a board-certified music therapist within the context of a therapeutic relationship toward non-musical functional wellness goals, health goals, which is kind of a mouthful of a definition. What I do is I meet with parents or with the clients themselves, do an interview, get an idea of what their goals are, what their health goals are. Could be across domains, so mental health goals could definitely be one of them. Physical goals, as in coordination and movement, spiritual goals even, communication goals, etc. The idea they might bring something in and say, I saw someone do this, play this instrument, or I heard this song and it's amazing. Now it's my job to take that experience that they brought me and turn it into an experience that will work toward their wellness goals, whatever those goals are. There are music therapists that practice throughout the entire country. To my knowledge, there are over 5,000 board-certified music therapists in America, and there's also an international kind of contingency of music therapists as well, so it really is everywhere. In some places, music therapy is more well known to work with certain clinical populations. If you are familiar with adult mental health, for example, you may have run into a music therapist within a psychiatric setting, usually acute psychiatric setting, where they're also kind of like the activities director and they're doing music therapy as well. There are a lot of music therapists that work in private practice, so they specialize in a certain clinical population and then they kind of work from there. I know for me, growing up on Long Island, I wasn't even aware of music therapy because I wasn't part of one of these special clinical populations, and it tends to be a really insular kind of field. It doesn't advertise for itself, it doesn't really promote itself, so other than advocacy conversations with direct contact with a music therapist, it would be difficult to learn about it. If you didn't know, how would you know? I think that we tend to focus on diagnosis when we really should be focusing on personal goals and strengths. I always come at my client's perspective from a perspective of strength. So where are you comfortable? What do you prefer? And where do you feel the strongest? We're going to start there. If it means a musical preference, if it means playing a specific instrument that you have history with, if it means looking at a certain artist's music that you have history with, we're going to start there. I feel like a lot of our medicine today, or a lot of the way we look at health, is based on diagnosis. And music therapists are not diagnosticians. So you might call me up and make an appointment and say, I have this, and this wrong with me. And another clinician might then sit you down and say, okay, well, this, and this added up together, that equals X diagnosis. And as a music therapist, X diagnosis, yes, it helps me kind of, if you bring that to me, it helps me do my research on what we know music therapy can help. But if you don't have that, it doesn't really matter. It's more, what are the personal things that you are looking to accomplish? Are you looking at orange, yellow, light green? So we'll do it this way. It makes it so that in a group setting, you can have a variety of individuals, even individuals who are traditionally speaking well, who are still benefiting from this therapy session because they have a specific goal that brings them to session and they can work among each other. I feel like we tend to look at people as like either sick or not sick, like on this kind of black and white spectrum. And really, health and wellness is such a much broader picture than that. And it's important to me that I always look at it that way, where it's not your diagnosis and I'm going to treat you like this diagnosis should be treated.
I like the avoiding better, putting it in the truck rather than it be somehow.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, good. So, here we go. Everybody ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, and... So naturally, I'm going to make it more complicated. Have a seat. You can take the F now, or the I think it's important to know that every time you go into a music therapy session, the music therapist is going to plan a session based on, they're going to base it on the research, they're going to base it on a conversation or an assessment that they do with you, and they're going to base it on their own clinical philosophy. So and this I think goes for any therapy really, if you meet with a therapist and you find that it's not a good fit, it's not what you expected, it's not the right thing, definitely talk to them about it. Talk to them about the experience. Tell them that you're feeling this way. But if it's still not a match, find someone else. It's really easy to think, oh, this is not for me, when maybe it's just not the right relationship. And that therapeutic relationship is a really important piece of the puzzle of therapy and of healing. For those of us who are musical or who enjoy music, that it seems so obvious, right? Like it's like, oh, of course, like if I sing music, like of course I'm going to be more alert and more aware and more in tune with what's around me. I feel like that's actually one of the problems that music therapy suffers from, is that music is so ubiquitous and it's everywhere and it's part of everyone's lives. Like everyone has some kind of music that they hold or they cherish, or it was one concert they went to, or it's the radio station they always listen to, or it's how they meet their friends, or it's how, it's such a part of our lives that to then sit back and say, wait a minute, there are therapeutic effects, like legitimate, scientifically shown, like researchable effects that music can have if it's done properly and with a trained provider and everything.
When you are going through things in your own life, what kinds of healing practices do you personally turn to?
That's really interesting, because I used to use music before I started doing this as a practitioner. I used to use music as my own kind of healing place. But now I just find that I spend so much time using music for others and with others in mind that it's not my preferred kind of healing medium anymore. And that's okay. My relationship has changed a little bit with music, and I've kind of learned to accept that. There was like a long acceptance process that came with that. So now I do yoga, I meditate, I do arts and crafts kind of things, and I try and go out and have a good time, like whenever I can. Like I try and really go out and enjoy myself despite whatever else is going on. I put those things aside as best I can and enjoy myself. I find those moments where I can have a good time. Yeah.
While we're moving in the world, like in all different situations, how can we, as like individuals, as citizens, hold space for other people and like be there for other people no matter what they're going through?
I think it starts with having space for ourselves. When we're going through things personally, like I know for me, it was a process to learn, like sometimes I'm just having a bad moment or a bad day and I have to give myself space to be okay with that, like rather than actively trying to fix it. And once I was able to find that space within myself, I was able to start noticing it in other people. So when you have an interaction that doesn't go as planned or as great as you want it to go, you kind of have to think like, well, they're doing the best. I had a professor that used to say this all the time. They're doing the best they can with what they have and where they are right now. If you want to find a music therapist, you can go to cbmt.org and type in your zip code, and a list of board-certified music therapists will come up on the screen, and then contact a few of them and see what populations they're comfortable with and what they specialize with. So then you can kind of reach out and see who might work for you.